What is going on, everybody? Today we are going to be comparing some of my favorite daily trainers that are on the market right now. And that is the Nike Pegasus 41s. As you can see, these have gotten a lot of love. They are quite nasty. And the Saucony Ride 18s, which is a shoe that just came out and honestly really surprised me. So let's see how these two shoes duke it out and which one is my favorite after this video. So before we get right into the comparison, I do want to note that these are both daily trainers priced at the same retail price at $140. This is Saucony's Everyday Daily Trainer, and this is Nike's Everyday Daily Trainer. The Pegasus is on the 41st iteration, so I think everyone kind of knows by now what the Nike Pegasus is. And the Saucony Ride, this is the 18th iteration. I think it is a very popular Saucony Daily Trainer, so most people also know what this shoe is. So let's get right into the comparison, starting out with both of the outsoles. So starting out with Nike's outsole, the Pegasus 41 has a pretty traditional Nike waffle outsole pattern. And for me, the grip on this shoe was decent. I wouldn't say that it was above average. I wouldn't say it was below average, but in the conditions that I typically run in, which in California is pretty dry and usually on the roads, these did their job very well. When it did get a little bit wet, I would say that it still performed decently well, but I wouldn't really prefer to wear these if it was snowy, icy, or super wet on the roads, just because I don't think that the waffle lugs really grip down the road or asphalt while I was running. But in dry weather conditions, in good weather, you're going to be good to go for a traction point of view. As for durability of the Pegasus, it's hard to say how many miles I have on the Pegasus now, but just because I have over 100 miles in running in the Pegasus 41, but I also do wear this shoe all the time when I'm just walking around or going out. I just love the shoe because it's so comfortable and easy to throw on. It fits my foot really well. So the outsole is holding up decently well. I do see that the lugs on the bottom are wearing down quite a bit, but it's hard to say how many miles I actually have on the shoe. So I would say it's around 200 plus with walking and running. It depends how long you're expecting your shoe to last, but I think for me, being a little bit bigger of a runner, I think that these are holding up really well. So I would say that the durability is probably around average. Now, talking about the Saucony Ride 18's outsole, as you can see, we have an XT900 rubber outsole from Saucony. And to me, Saucony is kind of known for having really durable shoes and really durable outsoles. So for me, the traction performance on the Ride 18s was pretty good. Again, in rainier conditions or snowy conditions, I don't really run in snowy conditions or icy conditions because I live in California. But when it was a little bit wet, I did feel like it got a little bit sus when it came to the traction point of view. But in dry weather conditions on the road, you're going to be good to go when it comes to traction. So I think that's pretty much every shoe. You should be good to go if you're running in dry weather on the road. Otherwise, that's definitely a problem. So the traction is going to take care of you as long as, you're not running in any crazy conditions. And as for outsole durability, I have a lot less miles on the Ride 18 because I just got them not too long ago. But with around 35 miles on the Ride 18s, this outsole is looking phenomenal. There are some etchings on the outsole that are starting to show some wear, but the outsole is pretty thick when it comes to the tread. So I would expect these to last very, very long. Now, I'm not exactly sure how it's going to compare to the durability of the Pegasus 41, but if I were to hypothesize, I would say it's probably going to last around the same amount as the Pegasus 41, if not maybe a little bit longer, just because in my experience, I do have a couple of other Saucony shoes and those things kind of just last forever. So the outsole on Saucony shoes usually are pretty thick and they are pretty durable. So if I had to give the slight edge for the outsole, I would maybe give it to the Ride 18, but it's kind of inconclusive because I have so many more miles on the Pegasus 41. So outsole, I'm not exactly sure if I'm going to pick a winner just because the traction on both of them were around average, and for durability, we don't really know who's going to win. Now, moving on to the midsole of both of these shoes, the Pegasus 41 has a pretty traditional Nike midsole. So it has a Nike full-length React X foam with 2 Air Zoom units, one in the heel, one in the forefoot. I believe the heel has 37 millimeters of stack height, dropping to 27 millimeters of stack height in the forefoot, giving it a 10 millimeter heel to toe drop, whereas the Saucony Ride 18 has a touch less stack height at 35 millimeters in the heel, dropping to 27 millimeters in the forefoot, giving it an 8 millimeter heel to toe drop. And this is a full length Nike or sorry, not full length Nike, full length Saucony Power Run Plus midsole. So it is a more beaded, and I think it's a TPU blended midsole. And an additional point to add to Saucony, the Saucony Ride 18, is that it does have a Power Run Plus midsole instead of Nike's is probably just like a traditional Ortholite insole. So the difference between an Ortholite insole and the difference between the Power Run Plus midsole in the Rad 18 is that the Power Run Plus midsole is actually the same midsole compound that is used in the actual midsole. So you're getting a touch more cushioning in the insole in the Ride 18s than maybe you are in the Pegasus 41s. But besides all that, how did the shoes feel? So the Pegasus 41 for me felt very smooth. It did feel kind of lower to the ground. I'm not exactly sure it's because I have more miles on this shoe, but it felt really soft, really responsive. I will say that when I took the Pegasus 41s out for longer runs, around mile 15, mile 16, I did feel that I definitely felt the fitness aspect of running where the shoes weren't really helping me too much and I really had to put an extra effort into each step. Whereas with the Power Run Plus in the Saucony Ride 18s, I felt that the midsole gave a little bit more bounce back, a little bit more cushion, and a little bit more comfort on the longer runs. And again, that's maybe due to the TPU blend or beaded midsole in the Saucony shoe. I just also think that these midsoles last a long time. And when you get into the stride of this Power Run Plus midsole, it does feel a lot bouncier than the Nike Zoom in the Pegasus 41. Now, the Pegasus 41 is definitely no slouch. I think that the highlights of this shoe is that it is going to train your muscles really well, and it's just a smooth and comfortable ride. Whereas in the Saucony Ride 18s, it does feel a little bit more firm, a little bit more stable than the Pegasus 41. Also on slower runs, I definitely would prefer the Nike Pegasus 41 as it is a little bit more forgiving of a midsole, whereas the Saucony Ride 18s, again, was a little bit more firm and was a little bit more responsive. So with that being said, for slower, easier paced runs, I definitely prefer running in the Pegasus 41, especially when you're running in runs under a half marathon. I found the Pegasus 41 super comfortable. Now, if you do want to pick up the pace, you are going to be able to, but you're really going to work for it, and the midsole is not going to really give you too much bounce or too much responsiveness when it comes to pushing you or propelling you forward. It's going to be pretty much all you. Now, I do prefer Saucony's Ride, or no pun intended, Saucony's midsole when it came to pushing the pace a little bit more. I feel that the midsole kind of came alive and it became a little bit more bouncy, a little bit more responsive. And I do like that it is a touch firmer just because on longer runs, for me personally, I prefer a midsole that doesn't kind of crumble underneath my foot and get too mushy. I never want to feel like I'm sinking into the shoe, and the Ride 18 was able to give a pretty consistent ride from mile 1 to maybe mile 18, mile 17. It's going to pretty much stay the same. It's going to be pretty firm, and as you pick up the pace, that midsole really comes alive and it feels really bouncy. So with that being said, for longer, faster runs, I would prefer the Ride 18. But for the slower and maybe shorter runs, I do prefer the Pegasus 41. It's just a little bit more chilled out of a midsole. So if I had to pick a winner, I think that the Ride 18's midsole wins in this category. It's just a little bit more responsive, a little bit more fun to run in, and it still gives you that stability and firmness that you desire. Now, moving on to the fit of both of these shoes. Now, I bought these both in a regular size 12. I typically wear a size 12. My foot is a little bit wider than average, and I'm going to be really straight to the point with this. I think the Pegasus 41 just fits way better than the Ride 18s. Now, the reason I say this is that the Pegasus typically was a pretty narrow shoe from Nike, but with the Pegasus 41, they did widen the toe box, or at least in my opinion they did, and it just fit my foot perfectly. At first, it was a little bit more snug, and as I broke in the materials, as I put more miles and miles on the shoe, it just kind of formed to my foot, and it's just a super comfortable upper. Kind of a no frills, it's an all mesh upper, and I just really love the fit of the Pegasus 41. I also had good heel lockdown and just didn't really have any problems with the upper. So the Pegasus 41's upper just fit my foot really well, and it didn't cause any problems or irritation, which is what a good upper is supposed to do. Now, when it comes to the Ride 18's upper, this is where I kind of ran into some problems. I do have a wider than average foot, but I still would say that these run true to size. It's just my pinky toe was overflowing a little bit on the lateral side of both of these shoes, especially when I was flexing the shoe. Now, this didn't really cause any real discomfort like blisters or chafing or anything like that, but it's just something to note as I felt that like my pinky toe was kind of off of the midsole. And I think that if Saucony widened the base just a touch, it could have been my fault that I didn't get the wide version of this shoe. But I think that if they did what the Pegasus 41 did and maybe widened the midsole just a touch in the forefoot, as well as made it a little bit more accommodating in the upper, then it would have fit my foot perfectly. But then again, fit is all preference. I will say that the Saucony's upper is very comfortable and it's very soft. I would also say that it's more breathable than the Pegasus 41s. Now, this shoe is special because typically I don't care about breathability in running shoes, but in my opinion, this is one of the most breathable daily trainers that I've worn in a while. When I was just going on chill, easy runs, I still felt the breeze through my toes, and it was kind of nice. It was like riding in a convertible. So I really enjoyed the breathability of this upper, but for me, also the heel lockdown was really, really good in the Ride 18s. But just overall fit and upper, I just prefer the Pegasus 41s. Now, this is a personal preference and everyone's foot is shaped differently, but the Pegasus 41s for me just fit perfectly for my foot, and I really, really enjoyed the fit of the Pegasus 41s. I think that that was one of the highlights of the shoe, and it's one of the reasons why it's one of my favorite daily trainers. So, with all that being said, it's all preference based. These two shoes are phenomenal. You can't really go wrong with either one of them. But if I did have to choose a winner, for me at least, I still think I choose the Pegasus 41s. And the reason for that being is that the fit was damn near perfect for my foot. I like that the midsole is pretty chilled out, like if you're running pretty slow or you just want to take it easy, the midsole is a little bit more forgiving. And then you do get a little bit of bounce from the two zoom units. Call me a Nike fanboy, that could be also the reason why I choose this shoe, but I just like the way it looks. I like the way it performs. And, typically when I am going for a faster paced run or a longer run, I won't really necessarily gravitate towards the Pegasus 41s. Like I will be able to run those runs in this shoe, but I am fortunate enough to have a lot of other different shoes to pick from. So when it comes to just everyday daily training miles, I think that this shoe, I find myself reaching for it more. Now, that's not to say that the Saucony Ride 18s is not a good shoe. I think it's a fantastic shoe, and I think it really blew my expectations out of the water. I really, really enjoy the shoe, and I think maybe it's my second favorite daily trainer. And I would also say that if you are open to it, if you can find this Pegasus 41 on sale, which Nike probably has it on sale right now, probably for under $100. Like this is a straight steal. But you could honestly build a rotation with both of these shoes, even though they both are non-plated. I would choose this shoe, for my slower, easier miles. And then when I want to do my long runs or I want to run a little bit faster, I think if you want a non-plated option, the Ride 18 is going to be a good shoe for you. And especially with a price point of $140 too. I don't think that these will go on sale for a little bit just because they just came out. But this shoe is going to be pretty versatile for you, and you can run a little bit faster, as well as you can maybe run some longer runs in this shoe. So just keep in mind too with the Ride 18s, if you have a foot like mine a little bit wider than normal, you might want to try on this shoe in store to maybe see if you want the wide version or if it just fits your foot properly. But I think that both of these shoes are phenomenal. You can't go wrong with either. If you can get the Pegasus 41 on sale, I would highly recommend it. And the Saucony Ride 18s, if you prefer a faster, bouncier daily trainer, or maybe you have a narrow foot or a regular foot, I think that this shoe is going to do wonders for you. So that's going to pretty much wrap up the comparison between two of my favorite daily trainers on the market right now. I don't think you can go wrong with either of these. And yeah, I'm really happy that I have both of these because it's such a luxury to be able to choose what I want to run in. So thank you guys so much for watching. I really appreciate the support, and I will catch you guys in the next video. Peace.